All right, welcome back to part 2 of the lesson, Introduction to Management. Recent changes in management, global uncertainties, political and economic uncertainties, the global international level of business creates challenges for management in the current day that make the role of a manager more challenging and more complex. Changing workplaces are also a new change and a new challenge for management. Not everybody works at their desk from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Different people have different schedules. Some people work on flex time. They might not work 40 hours a week. They might work a large number of hours in a few days and then not be around for a period of time. They might not even work in the office. They might work at a remote location that isn't even in the same country as the main location of the company or of the organization. Ethics is more and more a critical factor in companies. Companies are taking ethics more seriously. They're making ethics a more central component and concept of the way a company operates. Risk management, more and more risk, whether that be technological risk or whether that be political risk or whether that be operational risk, is a focus of managers and organizations. Technology continues to advance, continues to be more complex, and is more and more a challenge as it changes the way managers operate within organizations. The increased focus on customer service is also an important change to note in management. Instead of just providing a product or providing a service, more and more it's important to provide the products and services of an organization with a focus towards customer satisfaction, making the customer the center. A satisfied customer means a successful organization, and a dissatisfied customer means that organization is at risk of not existing for much longer. Innovation, coming up with new ideas, being creative, creating new concepts and new ideas and new products is important. More and more competition means that a company or an organization, NGO, even a government can't continue to do things the way they did things in the past. They need to continually be changing. They need to be innovative. And finally, the concept of sustainability is making sure that you're aware of the impact of your activities on the environment, the impact of your activities on your employees, the impact of your activities on your customers, and managing your organization in a way that is sustainable, that doesn't damage the environment, that doesn't have negative long-term impacts on your customers and on your employees. Why are we studying management? What is important about management? Isn't management just something for the boss, the president, the CEO? It isn't, for several reasons. Number one, management is universal. Whether you're working in a company, a government, or an NGO, management is an important component of that organization. And management isn't just at the top. Management happens at all levels of an organization and in all functions of an organization. You might be working in a company in the Department of Accounting or Marketing or Human Resources, and all of those departments involve management. Second, the reality is when you're working, at the beginning you're managed, and eventually you might become the manager. So whatever your role is in an organization, you're always either managing or being managed. And finally, it is important to understand the challenges and rewards of management because, again, being managed, you need to know the perspective of your manager and why they're doing what they're doing. And at some point, you're likely to be the manager. So to know the challenges and rewards of that role will make your role as a manager more meaningful. And we'll summarize with some points regarding the history of management. When we look at the history of management, we see three main approaches: the classical approach, the behavioral approach, and the quantitative approach. The classical approach focused on scientific principles using bureaucracy, the idea of a top-down structure, as the ideal organizational structure of an entity. Then the behavioral approach began to shift the focus to people interacting with people, how they play a role in an organization, and how people are the key to successful activity in an entity. Finally, history of management moves to the quantitative approach, using statistics, calculations, measurements to optimize the way an entity operates. And then finally, talking about some contemporary approaches to management. The systems approach focuses on interdependency, how individuals and divisions and even organizations are interdependent. That means they depend on one another. They're not isolated. Employees aren't isolated, departments aren't isolated, even entire entities aren't isolated. They depend on other employees, other departments, and other entities. And finally, the contingency approach means that while we have some management ideas and concepts and here some approaches, each organization is different. So it isn't possible to always use the same idea, the same technique, the same approach. Each organization has some differences, and so each organization requires some creativity, some customization, some unique type of approach to most effectively manage that organization so that that organization can successfully achieve its goals. That concludes the introduction to management. Make sure you work through the exercises relating to this lecture, and I look forward to seeing you in class for our case study analysis.